Good morning, and thank you so much for to everyone for watching the BSU Career webinar session today. My name is Albertina Joseph, and I will be your host today. And just to introduce myself briefly, I am currently a student at the University of Liverpool, studying finance and data analytics, and I'm currently doing my placement here in London doing financial reporting. And so today's webinar is all about building strategic and resilient careers, particularly in spaces such as engineering, technology, and business. And so we are going to be looking at how to translate those academic learnings into actual real world impact. And so we are incredibly fortunate to be joined by somebody who has really established an amazing career in energy, mining, and infrastructure sector, and who's also deeply passionate about guiding the next generation. So please do welcome me in joining our special guest, Dr. Obonetse Fulu. Just to confirm, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, yes, of course.
So, Dr. Fulu, thank you so much for joining us here today. We are fortunate to have you as one of our
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today, just to get a bit of insight into your own personal career journey, any industry insights that you can offer, as well as just some advice for our students. And so I think just now over to you, Dr. Fulu. Could you please provide us with a brief introduction, but don't feel the need to give us too much of details, as we'll go into that a bit later. But yes, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And like I said, thank you for having me. And well, it's a privilege to always talk to the student community. Like you say, I have passion for the next generation. I believe they can turn things around
Yes.
and make a better, usually I say better Botswana, but now that it's not only Botswana, the focal point here. So I believe the next generation should actually do better than the previous generation. Always, even when they are gone, or during their phase, they must also encourage the next generation to do better.
Yes.
Now, my career, to be in short, like I said, my name is Dr. Obonetse Fulu. I I've been, I usually say, I've been waking up and going to the workplace for the past 23 years. Out of those 23 years, I take the 17 years of it as real experience. So my career spans over 2 decades, and this is across, government, private sector, the energy and mining industry, and then obviously I've also done a couple of work in the parastatals, layer, a local enterprise authority to be specific. So I began my career in the technical and operation focused role, gradually transitioning into a commercial and more strategic leadership position, which involved a bit of, supply chains, infrastructure, and large scale energy projects. So I have I had a couple of senior management role in the petroleum industry and also mining support services. And obviously, it involves a lot of retail energy operation. I've worked very close with, executive teams, the regulators, and multinational partners. So my career focus on a commercial strategy and leadership development, and it's more on business development, and like you rightfully mentioned, I have passion for around issues of entrepreneurship, focusing on youth employability, helping young people translate education into practical and market-ready skills, that can actually sustain their career path. So, in a nutshell, I would say that's who I am.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
really fantastic. I think it actually really helps us set the scene for the first question. So I think your path from mechanical engineering to actually doing a PhD in business and actually going to senior commercial leadership is quite unique. And so could you actually walk us through sort of like your strategic thinking behind those many life choices or changes and pivots that you had? Was there a specific driving force that actually sort of motivated you to add an IT degree, an MBA, and then a doctorate to sort of your engineering foundation?
Yeah, so obviously we live in a very in a transition world, so dynamic. If you take out 23 years from the 2023, it takes you back to 2020. I mean 2000 and what 2003. If you take out 23, right now, you will recall that during those times, things like IT were considered to be scarce skill. Actually, we had a lot of, very scarce interaction of IT and IT platforms at the time. And as a young engineer, uh, I started my career in the military, and as an engineer in the military. And looking into the future, I felt that most of the education that we got at the time, though we were coming out as engineers, lacked a bit of uh, innovation and practicality of some sort. It was more practical, more theoretical. So it's like I felt we were being turned into, technicians of some sort, senior technicians. And I felt, you know what? I think it's important that uh, I upskill myself, introduce more skills, and diversify myself personally, such that over and above being an ordinary engineer, I am an engineer who can actually implement without, too much requirement. I will tell you, those days, even the government would employ someone to come up and set up just a computer connecting the CPU, the screen, and all that. There was a resource that was hired for that. So I felt, you know what, I can't be an engineer and be going out to get those kind of services. Then I am not resourceful. I'm not efficient. For me to be efficient and you know resourceful, I need to be some of the skills I need to have. And it was a time where the introduction of technology and innovation obviously was coming in, and systems that are IT based, reliability based, maintenance kind of stuff, was moving towards IT use of information and technology.
Yes.
AI was not yet there, but it was important that I align my IT skills, with what was coming. So that's what influenced me to eventually, pick up an IT related course.
I think that's a really, really important point. Just being an individual or positioning ourselves in a way that we are able to do multiple things when required. So being quite versatile and
Exactly,
flexible.
exactly.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's really good. And then just moving on to the next question. I think looking back, what was one single thing that was most difficult for you when you were transitioning from more so the technical and operational roles, like managing workshops, into actually sort of like high level commercial strategy and leadership? And was there any new skill or a different mindset that you felt you adopted in order to occupy or smoothly transition, in sort of your own words?
Yeah, yeah. Tough one. The question is as tough as the process itself when it happened.
Yes.
So I was a young engineer. Obviously, I was still in my late mid 20s, and here I am. I'm a young engineer, an IT guy at the same time also, but predominantly I was pushing my engineering background as the core. So I eventually, the military introduced me to managerial positions at a very young age. And credit to Botswana Defence Force. I came in as an officer cadet, and obviously the expectation was high. So when I spent 10 years of my career in there as an engineer, eventually as a workshop manager, transitioned to a head of department for an industrial and mechanical academy in the army. And when I left the military, I joined the local enterprise authority as a technology venture coach. Now, that was more of introduction to business. And I realized at the time that I was making a sharp turn where I was now moving from a purely practical, technically based environment into a space that, encompasses more of managerial, supervisory, and strategic, thinking and approach. And it was a big challenge. I couldn't, most of the time cope with the discussions. I couldn't cope with the, very simple things, the templates, the language, and all that was being used.
Yes.
And I decided, you know what, I need to act. And this is where now I decided I need to pick up I need to be more involved in these discussions. I need to pick up some side assignments. I need to pick up a course that is managerial, and this culminated obviously into my masters of business administration in international business, which further enhanced my skills. And at the same time, I picked an accounting risk management related course, because now I was appreciating the fact that the more you go up the ladder, the more the expectation in terms of diversity in terms of skills, not just be in line with your first line of training, your first degree, but more is expected of you. You must be able to solve problems, because actually, eventually, that's how businesses make their profits. They solve businesses, and out of those solutions, they make those monies.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
really good. And just out of curiosity, did you have a specific role that you enjoyed most personally?
So when I moved from purely technical function, I my first more of a different role was I moved into technical sales, right? So I was a lubricants marketing manager for Asian Botswana, and a very interesting role for me, where now I was selling a unique value proposition, a unique product to a technical customer, being the mines and all that. And I was selling lubricants. And now this is where it became more interesting for me. I had to be technically highly competent on the technical side of things and the products themselves that I'm selling. At the same time, I had to, demonstrate some high level skill of marketing and sales. So the combination made it so exciting for me. I could see beyond the horizon to say this should eventually culminate into a very interesting role beyond just a sales and marketing manager.
That's really
Yeah,
good.
so I really enjoyed my stay in that role.
So, did you find yourself actually combining those two areas, or was it more so it just allowed you to dive into one and then to another, just briefly?
Well, it for me it was very interesting, because it obviously I carried a very strong background from the engineering side of things, mechanical engineering, and I was very eager to learn business related stuff, sales and marketing related stuff. Now combining the two, it was not an easy thing. Obviously, getting into the business space was like putting your feet in a very foreign land. Too much learnings to be made, and but you need to, as an individual, if you need to achieve something, if you really want to achieve, if you have objectives that you have set for yourselves, it takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of commitment. You must always remember the objective, and you must remain focused, and that's really what I applied. And for me, I would say, though the path was difficult, I enjoyed it. And at the end of the day, it was a very exciting, journey for me. But I made sure that I strike the balance between the two, because I considered myself that, you know what, I've identified a niche here in the market.
Yes.
Not many people are technical sales, but if I choose the technical, there is obviously too much competition in that space. If I choose the marketing alone, there is obviously another high competition levels at that side. So if I come as a hybrid, it's a specialty on itself. Technical sales, it's a hybrid that obviously requires one to put more effort. And at the time, I believed not everybody wanted to put that extra effort. And I took advantage of that and developed myself into this special, hybrid figure that can actually, close that gap in the market.
Yes. Well, that's great. And I think it brings us to the next question itself. So I think maybe for students who are not familiar with your role, or with a role like group commercial manager, what does your typical day of work look like? And how, I guess, do you combine your background in order to solve everyday problems that you may face?
Yeah, that's correct. So as a group commercial manager at Kwanuking, I head sales. I'm basically the head of sales. And as the head of sales, sales, it's a big component. And as a petroleum company, Kwanuking Oil focuses on several aspects of sales. We do fuels, we do lubricants. There is a lot of logistics that is involved in there. We also do services that support the sales functions. So all the commercial side of the story, then eventually it's my responsibility. All the sales teams on the lubricants division, on the fuels division, on the service divisions report under my portfolio. So interestingly enough, now that if I give you an example, we do a lot of business with so our business it's divided into different we focus on different sectors and obviously categorize it internally as lines of business. So we've got the retail side of business, which covers the likes of your conventional filling station, what you call filling stations here. We call it a retail business, and then we've got a commercial side of business. So we break it down to segments. Under that, we've got mining, we've got B2B mining, we've got B2B non-mining, which covers your manufacturing, your agriculture, your all that. And then we've got B2C, which is your business to customer sector, which focuses on your FMCGs and all that. And then we have another small sector, which we call the express segment, where, based on our model in terms of how we reach out to our customers. So all this now actually demands for diverse skills. You know, we are living in a data-driven decision-making environment, and as a commercial manager, it's very important that I make sure that the business has the relevant technologies for analysis of data and all that. And then we take that data, obviously combined with the market intelligence. That's what we use to formulate our strategies and all that. Now, very importantly, now where the technical meets the business side of things. And for me, you can't separate the two. And that's what makes it practical. You see, we are in an era where since COVID, I would say we have seen companies scaling down, which is not a good thing from an employment point of view. But it's a very important point of, especially when you do your career choice, you really need to look into diversifying skills and making sure that you remain relevant to the potential employers. Now, as a commercial manager, when an engineer at the same time, when we pick up large mining contracts, sometimes we are required to set up multi-million storage facilities, multi-million cooler development. So sitting as the head of commercial and being the project engineer, being a mechanical engineer, and also if you go through my records, you'll see that I've done project management and I'm a certified project manager. It means from a strategic point of view, I can sit there as a proper project sponsor. And if I want to work on a lean structure and save costs, I have the right qualifications to be appointed by the mine to be also the project engineer. Now, as a project engineer, I know the objective that I eventually want to achieve as the commercial manager, managing costs and delivering the project on time and all this. So even when I allocate tasks and duties to my project team and all that, at least I have view and control to manage the end-to-end, scope of the project, and that is very important to me as an executive, as a senior manager, because I, at the end of the day, remain accountable to the project delivery and all that. So it's you see now there is an intertwine. Once the project has been fully delivered from the development side of things, a sales manager comes in to manage the sales function of it, and that reports to me, and I manage the high end of that transaction and the relationship with the mine. So you see, I'm involved at the development, technical part of the project, and then I'm also involved in the other side of things. So every employer will obviously like that from a control point of view, a management point of view, and a cost saving point of view. So in that position, when you develop yourself to be such a hybrid individual, you are also increasing your chances of becoming relevant to organizations, especially where things are dry. So you don't need the second person to come there and interpret data to you.
Yes.
You need to be able to interpret data to yourself. Whether you are on the IT space, you are on the engineering space or the commercial space, what happens in the company is very important for you. Competition against your company is very important for you. You must understand what competition means to you at all levels, at every position that you are in the company. So it's very important that even on meetings as an individual, whether you're an IT person, you can be able to say, guys, look, this is what I've picked in the market, this is what competition is doing, and this is what I think it will be the impact in our business. And this is what I propose as a solution. It shows that you are part of the business, and you are not just in the business, you are on the business.
That's a word. That's a really good one. I think actually you've touched on a really important thing, being a hybrid individual and actually taking initiative. So I think, as you may know, there have been quite a few talks around AI and sort of digital transformation. So I'm just wondering, from your point of view, what are the specific technological developments that are in energy or heavy industry sectors that students should really be paying close attention to in the next 3 to 5 years, or looking to really get involved in?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, decision making, the energy industry, like any other industry now, it's data driven, and data analysis is very important. And it's a combination of processes, right? And I will give you a typical example. Taking Botswana as an example, the energy industry in Botswana it's in what, in two phases. We've got a commercial depot kind of part of the sector, where you have the likes of Botswana Oil, where they're operating large storage facilities, large gantries, where trucks come and pick products to go and deliver in retail sites. That is a different model on its own. Then you've got another line of business, which is retail. So retail involves your conventional, normal filling station, which is made up of the filling station, forecourt, and the convenience retail shop. So now, this whole process, the end-to-end part of it, the value chain of it, involves transport, it involves delivery of product into tanks, storage of product into tanks, movement of product from tanks to the retail filling stations itself, receiving of the product in there, and then selling it, monitoring the sales, and reporting. Now, in the process, there are too many technologies that are involved. So per chain, in the value chain, there are several, technologies that are involved and all that. So for example, if you take the transport leg itself, there is a lot of tracking and, tank gauging systems that are being used and all that. And the product getting delivered into the big storage tanks, which are holding areas. There's continuous monitoring of product in there, and maintenance systems, which are AI advanced and all that. And what I'm saying is, in short, is, you see, all these technologies that are involved at each phase of the product movement. If I take Botswana as an example, we are a bit behind in terms of technology and innovation in that space.
Yes.
Filling station operation and depot storage operation on itself. If you are an engineer, there is a lot of preventive maintenance and regular maintenance, that is involved. And maintenance doesn't happen from a thumbsuck kind of approach. So you need preventive maintenance tools, and these are obviously technology influenced, AI influenced, and it's very important that if you find yourself in that space, be it an engineer or whatever, or even an accounting person, you must be behaving, you must be techno savvy. You must be able to be relevant with the fast paced development in that particular sector. So you must. I always say to people, you must build an adaptable career in the technology driven economy. Make sure that you prepare for a job that will evolve or disappear. So
Yes.
every time your job evolves into a next stage where the old way of doing things are sort of reduced and moving into the AI or tech related stuff, you must keep the pace. For me, technology requires continuous learning and personal branding, especially when you are a young person. You use technology as a career enabler, not just a tool. And you must take ownership of the learning, your learning beyond just formal education. Take interest in what is happening around the world, and see how that can be, improved, developed, and implemented in your areas of interest. So you must also at the same time, when you are doing this thing, make sure that you build a proper professional digital presence that reflects those competencies and values for yourself as an individual. That's how you position yourself in the global space of Botswana. So for some of you who are already outside the country, obviously you must take advantage of those technologies which are already, you would have more interaction with those, and you must take advantage of that so that in the event that you come back home, you return with value in a better perspective than some of us, if I may say that.
Yes. No, I think that's really valuable insight to actually sort of offer. And I guess in terms of your opinions, how do you weigh the value of things such as internships versus maybe personal projects or specific certifications? So would you say there is one that is more significant than the other, or just a combination of all is the best way to go?
Yeah, there is a saying that obviously we differ with opinions and how we see things. There is a saying that says one is a jack of all trades and a master of none. Well, I, I look at it differently. I usually say, one should be a specialist, but they must know most of the things.
With oh,
Uh,
yes,
when you are in that position, for me, you are more resourceful, and you people can depend on you, companies can depend on you. So you cover a wide spectrum. Not necessarily that you want to waste your time and spend your valuable time on stuff that is not your core of your career. But we must also at the same time appreciate that, like I said earlier, when the economy gets on the other side, which is the negative side of it, companies, obviously consider, some of issues like retrenchment and, realigning and streamlining jobs as priorities. Now, you can imagine if you've got a company has hired somebody who works in the office just moving files around,
yes,
and I employ a team of guys who are able to, send emails, transfer files, and do everything, use, the use of papers and all that. So I'm indirectly cutting off that role. So now, if that person who is moving files has also empowered themselves to be able to do something else beyond just moving files, they make themselves to remain relevant. So having a diversified, skills set actually makes you more employable and more relevant to to companies. And you know, it's important that you know a bit of almost everything that is affecting your career and your life. Because you know, if your ignorance is actually very very painful, because even in life sometimes we pay more for stuff that we should have paid half just because we didn't know that actually this is not as as highly priced as I thought it would. So this for me comes from you know, continuous learning and picking up those internships. And in this age and time, it's sometimes it's the process is brutal, because it will even, you know, require, I mean, push you, you know, beyond doing it for money. You have to do it for experience. You need to be inquisitive and want to see what people are doing, have interest in what people are doing, and that's how you learn. And one advice that I have for you guys is, all these things you need to learn them at the very earliest time of your career, because the more you learn and adapt these ways of doing things, these skill sets, and you know, uh, the more they get entrenched into your personal traits and ways of doing things, and it becomes your personal culture, and you are not eventually going to be pushed to do stuff, very simple stuff. And like I always say to others also, learning is a continuous process. Today you are doing your bachelor's degree or your master's, you get a certificate. That's not the end of it. If you look at my profile, it's a series of certificates and what two degrees, two bachelor's degrees, two doctoral degrees, one master's degree. I'm currently a student, actually. I'm a student. I'm doing my master's of engineering management. And for me, learning is not just about acquiring qualification. It's about moving with technology, moving with the market demand, moving with where the world is going. So I did my engineering many years back. Things have moved because of the influence of AI. Now I need to update the software. And how do I do that? I do that by, you know, picking a course that is relevant to that specific area that I want to develop. And that's how I keep myself relevant even for employment.
Oh, that's really amazing. And I think it just does bring us towards the end of our conversation. But I was just wondering, is there any sort of other advice that you would love to leave our students with, on more so how to go about actually building a resilient career that they can be truly, I guess, proud of, for lack of a better word, but yes, one that they would be looking to find fulfillment within?
Yeah. So I will be brutal and honest about this one, right? Now, you know, when you are a young person and you pick up on a course, uh, many a times we obviously do we follow the right processes, the textbook solutions, and obviously you guys are so exposed. You know, there are so many things that you can do to pick the right courses and, you know, pick the right careers. But the biggest mistake that I've seen young people do is, once they are at college, universities, now they know they have picked the right course, but you know, they allow for a disconnect to take place between the industry and their you know, their education process. As an example, you find somebody doing a course, and within that course, maybe a business IT related course, and they are given opportunity to select modules. Within those modules, there are easy modules that you can do and pass the course, and there are difficult modules that you can do and come out of that course more equipped and relevant to the industry. What do most students do? They opt for the easier way out, because at the end of the day, they think the employer only looks at the Bachelor of Information Technology in what. But now you get exposed immediately when you land at the workplace. It becomes a surprising environment for you, because you don't have the right foundation in terms of the basic foundation, which is the you know, the theory part of it. And that's one thing. And then second thing is, when you get to you get an opportunity to get employed, either an internship, an attachment, or that, you must use that opportunity to learn, like really learn, and challenge those people that you find in that working environment. Challenge them, question them, to acquire knowledge, and don't be lazy. A lot of people miss it there in the early stages of their career. And if you miss it there, if you become lazy in the first 2 months,
Yes.
you have destroyed the whole journey. So you need to be on your toes, and you need to be you need to set objectives of your first 5 years of your career as an individual. And
Yes.
like I'm saying, never, for the past 25, 23 years that I've been working, I have always been a student. There is no year that I have not taken an exam.
Yes.
So all these years I've taken an exam. And I encourage you guys, do the same, be it short courses or whatever, graduate, postgraduate, whatsoever courses. Let learning not be an event, but let it be a process.
And then
And for some of you that have exposure to international and global, ideas and infrastructure and technologies, leverage on that. Leverage on that. Don't learn it to keep it in the shelves or the cupboards and the briefcases. Learn it to test it on the ground. And if it doesn't work, you will see it doesn't work. And obviously, as you test it on the ground, you will gain experience and all that. But never go for the easy stuff. Never go for the easy stuff.